Women who run with wolves. Women who run with the wolves. Contacting the power of the wild woman. By Clarissa, Pinkola, Estés. Chapter 13. Battle Scars. Membership in the Scar clan. Tears are a river that take you somewhere. Weeping creates a river around the boat that carries your soul life. Tears lift your boat off the rocks, off dry ground, carrying it down river to some place new, some place better. There are oceans of tears women have never cried, for they have been trained to carry mothers' and fathers' secrets, men's secrets, society secrets, and their own secrets to the grave. A woman's crying has been considered quite dangerous, for it loosens the locks and the bolts on the secrets she bears. But in truth, for the sake of a woman's wild soul, it is better to cry. For women, tears are the beginning of initiation into the Scar clan, that timeless tribe of women of all colors, all nations, all languages, who down through the ages have lived through a great something, and yet who stood proud, still stand proud. All women have personal stories as vast in scope and as powerful as the Newman in fairy tales. But there is one kind of story in particular which has to do with a woman's secrets, especially those associated with shame. These contain some of the most important stories a woman can give her time to unravel. For most women, these secret stories are her own personal ones, embedded, not like jewels in a crown, but like black gravel under the skin of the soul. Secrets as slayers. Over my 20-year practice, I've listened to thousands of secret stories. Stories that, in the main, were kept hidden for many years, sometimes for almost a lifetime. Whether a woman's secret is shrouded in self-imposed silence, or whether she has been threatened by someone more powerful than she deeply fears disenfranchisement, being considered an undesirable person, disruption of relationships that are important to her, and sometimes even physical harm if she reveals her secret. Some women's secret stories are about having told a bold-faced lie or having done a purposeful, meaningless that caused someone else trouble or pain. However, in my experience, these are rare. More women's secrets revolved around having violated some social or moral code of their culture, religion, or personal value system. Some of these acts, events, and choices, particularly those related to women's freedom in any and all arenas of life, were often held out by culture as being shamefully wrong for women, but not for men. The problem of secret stories surrounded by shame is that they cut a woman off from her instinctive nature, which is in the main joyous and free. When there is a black secret in the psyche, a woman can go nowhere near it, and in fact protects herself from coming into contact with anything that will remind her of it or cause her already chronic pain to crest to an even more intense level. This defensive maneuver is common, and, as in the after effects of trauma, secretly influences women's choices in what she will or will not undertake in the outer world. Which books, films, or events she will or will not involve herself with, what she will or won't laugh about, and what interests she gives herself to. In this sense, there is an entrapment of the wild nature which ought to be free to do, be, look into whatever it likes. Generally, secrets follow the same themes found in high drama. These are some of the themes of secrets: betrayal, forbidden love, unsanctioned curiosity, desperate acts, forced acts, unrequited love, jealousy and rejection, retribution and rage, cruelty to self or others, disapproved desires, wishes and dreams, disapproved sexual interests and lifestyles, unplanned pregnancies, hatred and aggression, accidental death or injury, broken promises, loss of courage, loss of temper, incompletion of something, inability to do something, behind-the-scenes intervention and manipulation, neglect, abuse. And the list goes on and on, most of the themes falling under the category of sorrowful error. Secrets like fairy tales and dreams also follow the same energy patterns and structures as those found in drama. But secrets, instead of following the heroic structure, follow the tragic structure. The heroic drama begins with the heroine on a journey. Sometimes she is not physically awake. Sometimes she is not psychologically awake. Sometimes she is too sweet and doesn't perceive danger. Sometimes she has already been mistreated and makes the desperate moves of a captured creature. However she begins, the heroine eventually falls into the clutches of whatever or whoever and is sorely tested. Then, through her wit, because she has people who care for her, she is freed and stands taller as a result. In a tragedy, the heroine is snatched, forced, or drives straight into hell and is subsequently overwhelmed. No one hears her cries, or else her pleas are ignored. She loses hope, loses touch with the preciousness of her life, and collapses. Instead of being able to savor her triumph over adversity, or her wisdom of choices and her endurance, she is degraded and deadened. The secrets a women keep are almost always heroic dramas that have been perverted into tragedies that go nowhere. But there is good news. The way to change a tragic drama back into a heroic one is to open the secret, speak of it to someone, write another ending, examine one's part in it and one's attributes in enduring it. These learnings are equal parts pain and wisdom. The having lived through it is a triumph of the deep and wild spirit. The shame-filled secret women carry are old tales. Any person who has kept a secret to her own detriment has been buried by shame. In this universal plight, the pattern itself is archetypical. The heroine has either been forced to do something or, through the loss of instinct, has been trapped into something. Typically, she is powerless to right the sad condition. She is in some way sworn or shamed into secrecy. She complies for fear of loss of love, loss of regard, loss of basic subsistence. To seal the secret further, a curse is placed on the person or persons who would reveal it. A terrible something or other is threatened if the secret is ever revealed. Women have been advised that certain events, choices, and circumstances in their lives, usually having to do with sex, love, money, violence, and or other difficulties rampant in the human condition, are of the most shameful nature and are therefore completely without absolution. This is untrue. Everyone makes poor choices in words or deeds before they know any better and before they realize what the consequences will be. There is nothing on this planet or in this universe that is outside the bounds of forgiveness. Nothing. Oh no, you're saying. This one thing I did is totally without pardon. I said nothing that a human may have done, is doing, or might do, is outside the bounds of forgiveness. Nothing. The self is not a punitive force that rushes about punishing women, men, and children. The self is a wildish God who understands the nature of creatures. It is often hard for us to act right, especially in the basic instincts, including intuition, are cut away. Then it is difficult to speculate on outcome before rather than after the fact. The wildish soul has a deeply discompassionate side that takes this into account. In the archetype of the secret, an enchantment of some sorts is cast like a black net across part of a woman's psyche, and she is encouraged to believe that the secret must never be revealed, and further, she must believe that if she does reveal it, all decent persons who come across her shall revile her in perpetuity. This additional threat, as well as the secret shame of itself, causes a woman to carry not one burden but two. This sort of enchantment threat is a pastime only among persons inhabiting a small and black space in their hearts. Among persons of warmth and love for the human condition, quite the opposite is true. They would help to draw out the secret, for they know it makes a wound that will not heal until the matter is given words and witness. The dead zone. The keeping of secrets cut a woman off from those who would give her love and protection. It causes her to carry the burden of grief and fear all by herself, and sometimes for the entire group, whether family or culture. Furthermore, as Jung said, keeping secrets cuts us off from the unconscious. Where there is a shaming secret, there is always a dead zone in the woman's psyche. A place that does not feel or respond properly to her own continuing emotional life events or to the emotional life events of others. The dead zone is greatly protected. It is a place of endless doors and walls, each locked with 20 locks, and the Humukuli, the little creature of the woman's dreams, are always busy building more doors, more dams, more security, lest the secret escape. There is no way to fool the wild woman, however. She is aware of the dark bundles in a woman's mind that are tied round and round with ropes and bands. These spaces in a woman's mind do not respond to light or grace. So covered over are they. And of course, since a psyche is greatly compensatory, the secret will find its way out anyway. If not in actual words, then in the form of sudden melancholias, intermittent and mysterious rages, all sorts of physical tics, talks and pains, dangling conversations that end suddenly and without explanation, and sudden odd reactions to movies, films, and even television commercials. The secret way finds its way out, if not in direct words, then somatically, and most often not in a way that it can be dealt with and helped in a straightforward manner. So what does the woman do when she finds the secret leaking out? She runs after it with great expenditure of energy. She beats, bundles, and burrows it back down into the dead zone again, and builds larger defenses. She calls her homunculi, the inner guardians and ego defenders, to build more doors, more walls. The woman leans against her later psychic tomb, sweating blood and breathing like a locomotive. A woman who carries a secret is an exhausted woman. My generic aunts used to tell a little story about this matter of secrets. They called it Arianos High Golden Hair, the woman with hair of gold. The woman with hair of gold. There was a very strange but beautiful woman with long golden hair as fine as spun gold. She was poor, without mother or father, and lived in the woods alone, and wove upon a loom made of black walnut bows. A brute who was the son of a coal burner tried to force her into marriage, and in an effort to buy him off, she gave him some of her golden hair. But he did not know or care that it was spiritual, not monetary gold that she gave him. So when he sought to trade her hair for merchandise in the market, people jeered at him and thought him mad. Enraged, he returned by night to the woman's cottage and with his own hands murdered her and buried her body by the river. For a long time, no one noticed that she was missing. No one inquired of her health or health. But in her grave, the woman's golden hair grew and grew. The beautiful hair curled and spiraled upward through the black soil, and it grew looping and twirling more and more, and up, until her grave was covered by a field of swaying golden reeds. Shepherds cut the curly reeds to make flutes, and when they played them, the tiny flutes sang and would not stop singing. Here lies the woman with golden hair, murdered and in her grave, killed by the son of the coal burner, because she wished to live. And that is how the man who took the life of the woman with golden hair was discovered and brought to justice, so that those who live in the wild woods of the world, like we ourselves do, were safe again once more. While this tale overtly gives the usual instruction to be careful in lonely places out of the woods, the inner message is profound, and that is that the life force of the beautiful, wilder woman personified by her hair continues to grow and to live and to emanate consciousness, knowing even though overtly silenced and buried. The life motifs of this tale are probably fragments of a much larger and more ancient death and resurrection story centering around the female godhead. This segment is beautiful and valuable, and additionally it tells us something about the nature of secrets and events, perhaps that is killed off in the psyche when a woman's life is not properly valued. In this tale, the murder of the woman who lives out in the woods is the secret. She presents a core, the woman who will not marry. This aspect of the female psyche represents that which wishes to keep to herself alone. This is mystical and solitary in a good way, for the core is taken up with the sorting of the weaving of ideas, thoughts, and endeavors. It is this self-contained wilder woman that is most injured by the trauma or by keeping of a secret. This integral sense of self that needs not have much around itself in order to be happy is a heart of the female psyche who weaves in the forest on the black walnut loom and is at peace there. No one in the fairy tale asked about the absence of this vital woman. This is not usual in fairy tales or in real life. The families of the dead women in Bluebeard do not come seeking their daughters either. Culturally, this needs no interpretation. Sadly, we all know what it means. And many women, too many, understand that lack of inquiry firsthand. Often the woman who carries secrets meets the same response. Though people may perceive that at center her heart is pierced, they may accidentally or purposefully go blind to the evidence of her injury. But part of the miracle of the wild psyche is that no matter how badly a woman is killed, no matter how injured, her psychic life continues. And it rises above ground where, in soulful circumstances, it will sing its way up and out again. The wrongful harm done is consciously apprehended and the psyche begins restoration. It is an interesting idea. It is not that a woman's life force can continue to grow even though she is seemingly without life. It is a promise that under even the most anemic conditions, the wildish life force will keep our ideas alive and developing, albeit only for a while, underground. Life will pry and scramble its way above ground in time. This living force will not let the matter rest until the buried woman's whereabouts and circumstances are revealed. As with the shepherds in the story, this involves drawing a breath and putting the soul breath or pneuma through the reeds in order to know the true state of affairs in the psyche and what must be done next. This is the work of crying out. Then the digging work follows. While some secrets are strengthening, for instance, those were used as a part of a strategy in order to gain competitive goal, or those happy ones kept just for the pleasure of savoring them, the secrets of shame are very different. As different as a berry-boned medal versus a bloody knife. The latter must be brought up, witnessed by compassionate humans under generous conditions. When a woman keeps a shameful secret, it is horrifying to see the enormous amounts of self-blame, self-torture she endures. All the blame and torture that were promised to descend upon the woman if she tells the secret does so anyway, even though she has told no one. It all attacks her from within. The wildish woman cannot live with this. Shameful secrets cause a person to become haunted. She cannot sleep, for a shaming secret is like a cruel barbed wire that catches her across the gut as she tries to run free. The secrets of shame are destructive, not only to a woman's mental health, but her relationships with the instinctive nature. Wild woman digs things up, throws them in the air, chases them around. She does not bury and forget. If she buries at all, she remembers what and where, and it will not be long before she has disinterred it again. Keeping shame a secret is profoundly disturbing to the psyche. Secrets erupt in dream material. An analyst must often go beyond the manifest and sometimes even the archetypical content of a dream in order to see that it is in fact broadcasting the very secret the dreamer cannot, dare not tell aloud. There are many dreams that, when analyzed, are understood to be about immense and extensive feelings that the dreamer in real life is unable to cry out. Some of these dreams pertain to secrets. Some of the most common dream images I've seen are lights, electric and otherwise, flickering and or going out. Dreams in which the dreamer becomes ill from eating something. Those in which the dreamer cannot move out of danger. And those wherein the dreamer tries to call out, but no voice issues forth. Remember Canto Hondo, the deep song, the Hambre del Alba, the starved soul. In time, these two forces, through dreams and the woman's own wild life force, rise to the surface of the psyche and break out the necessary cry, the cry that frees. A woman finds her voice then. She sings out, cries out the secret, and is heard. Her psychic footing will be restored. In the tradition of many families, ethnic and religious practices, the core meaning of this fairy tale and others similar to it are medicines to be applied to the wounds which are kept secret. In prayerful curanderism, they are considered encouragement, advice, and resolution. What stands behind the formation of a fairy tale wisdom is the fact that for both women and men, woundings to the self, soul, and psyche through secrets and otherwise are part of most persons' lives. Neither can the subsequent scarring be avoided. But there is help for those injuries, and absolutely there is healing. There are general wounds, and there are wounds that are specific to males, and there are wounds that are specific to females. Abortion leaves a scar. Miscarriage makes a scar. Losing a child of any age makes a scar. Sometimes being close to another person's lies down scar tissue. There may be extensive scarring as the result of naive choices, from being entrapped, as well as from right but difficult choices. There are as many shapes of scars as there are types of psychic woundings. Representing secret material surrounded by shame, fear, anger, guilt, or humiliation effectively shuts down all other parts of the unconscious that are near the site of the secret. It is like shooting an anesthetic into, say, a person's ankle or other to do surgery. Much of the leg above and below the ankle is also affected by the anesthesia and no longer has feeling. This is how secret keeping works in the psyche. It is a constant IV drip of anesthetic that numbs far more than the area at issue. No matter what kind of secret, no matter how much pain is involved in keeping the secret, the psyche is affected in the same way. Here is one example. One woman whose husband 40 years earlier had committed suicide 3 months after they were married, was urged by his family to not only hide the evidence of his major depressive illness, but also her deep emotional grief and anger from that time. As a result, she developed a dead zone, regarded his anguish, her anguish, as well as her rage at the cultural stigma attached to the entire event. She allowed the husband's family to betray her by agreeing to their requirement that she never revealed the fact of their cruel treatment of her husband over the years. And each year on the anniversary of her husband's suicide, there was dead silence from the family. No one called to say, "How are you feeling? Would you like some company? Do you miss him? I know you must. Shall we go out and do something together?" The woman dug her husband's grave once more and buried her grief alone, year after year. Eventually, she became to avoid other days of commemoration, anniversaries and birthdays, including her own. The dead zone spread from the center of the secret outward, not only overtly covering commemorative events, but then stretching to celebratory events and even beyond. All of these familial and friendships events were disparaged by the women, who overtly considered them as a waste of time. To her unconscious, however, they were empty gestures, for no one had come close to her in these times of despair. Her chronic grief, that shameful secret keeping, had eaten into the area of her psyche that governed relatedness. Most often we wound others where, or very close to where, we have been wounded ourselves. If a woman desires, however, to retain all her instincts and abilities to move freely within her psyche, she can reveal her secret or secrets to one trustworthy human being and recount them as many times as necessary. A wound is usually not disinfected once and then forgotten, but is tended to and washed several times while it heals. When a secret is finally told, the soul needs more response than, oh really, that's too bad, or, oh well, life is tough, from both the teller and the listener. The teller has to try not to depreciate the matter. And it is a blessing if the listener is a person who can listen with a full heart and can wince, shiver, and feel a ray of pain across his or her own heart and not collapse. Part of healing from a secret is to tell it so that others are moved by it. In this way, a woman begins to recover from shame by receiving the succor and tending she missed during the original trauma. In small and confidential groups of a woman, I bring about this exchange by asking the women to gather together and to bring photographs of their mothers, aunts, sisters, mates, grandmothers, and other women who are significant to them. We line up all the pictures. Some are cracked, some peeling, some damaged by water or coffee cup rings. Some have been torn in two and taped back together. Some are wrapped in glassine tissue. Many have beautiful, archaic writing on the back saying, "Oh, you kid," or "Love forever," or "This is me with Joe in Atlantic City," or "Here am I with my groovy roommate," or "These are the girls from the factory." I suggest each woman begin by saying, "These are the women of my bloodline. These are the women from whom I inherited." Women look at the pictures of their female family and friends, and with a deep compassion begin to tell the stories and the secrets of each as they know them. The big joy, the big hurt, the big travail, the big triumph of each woman's life. Throughout time we spend together, there are many moments when we can go further, for many, many tears lift many, many boats out of dry rocks, and we all sail away together for a while. What is valuable here is a true cleaning of the feminine laundry once and for all. The common proscription against washing the family's laundry in public is ironic, because usually the dirty laundry does not ever get washed within the family either. Down in the darkest corner of the cellar, the family dirty laundry just lies there stiff with its secret forever. The insistence on keeping a thing private is poison. In reality, it means that a woman has to support around her to deal with the issues that cause her pain. Many of the personal secret stories of women are the kind that family and friends are inadequate to discuss. They disbelieve or attempt to make light of or bypass them, and they truly have understandable reason to do so. If they do discuss them, handle them, work with them, they would have to share the grief with the women. No standing about composed. No, oh well, and then silence. No, we must try to keep busy and not dwell on such things. Instead, we're a woman's mate, family, community to share the grief over the death of the golden hair woman. They would all have to take their place in the cortege. They would all have to weep at the grave. No one could wiggle out of it, and it would be very hard on them. When women give more thought to the matter of their own secret shame than the members of their family or community, they alone consciously suffer. The psychological purpose of family, to pull together, never occurs. Yet the wild nature demands that one's environ be cleansed of irritants and threats, that matters which oppress be reduced as much as possible. So it is usually a matter of time before a woman calls up her courage from the soul bones, cuts herself a golden reed, and plays the secret in her own song voice. But here is what to do about shameful secrets, based on the story of the archetypical advice extrapolated from dozens of fairy tales such as Bluebeard, Mr. Fox, Robber Bridegroom, Miracle Hair, and others, where the heroine refuses to keep the secret in one way or another, and so is finally free to live life fully alive. See what you see. Say it to someone. It is never too late. If you feel you cannot say it aloud, write it down for them. Choose a person whom you instinctively believe to be trustworthy. The can of worms you are worried about opening is far better off being out there than festering inside yourself. If you prefer, seek a therapist who knows how to deal with secrets. This will be a person of mercy, with no particular drum to bang without right and wrong, who knows the difference between guilt and remorse and about the nature of grieving and resurrecting of spirit. Whatever the secret is, we understand that it is now part of our work for life. Redemption heals a once opened wound, but there will be a scar nevertheless, with changes of whether the scar can and will ache again. With chance of these changes. That is the nature of a true grief. For years, classical psychology of all types erroneously thought that grief was a process that you did once, preferably over a year's period of time, and then when it was done with, and anyone who was unable or unwilling to complete this over the prescribed time period had something rather wrong with them. But we know now that humans have known instinctively for centuries that certain hurts and harms and shames can never be done being grieved. The loss of a child through death or relinquishment being one of the most, if not the most, enduring. In a study of diaries written over many years' time, Paul C. Rosenblatt, PhD, found that people may recover from the worst of their soul grief in the first year or two after a tragedy, depending on a person's support system and so forth. But afterward, the person continues to experience periods of active grieving. Although the episodes become further and further apart in time and shorter in duration, each recurrence carrying close to the same intensity of staggering grief as the first occasion. This data helps us to understand the normalcy of long-term grief. When a secret is not told, grieving goes on anyway, and for life. The keeping of secrets interferes with the natural self-healing hygiene of the psyche and spirit. This is one more reason to say your secrets. Telling and grieving resurrect us from the dead zone. They allow us to leave the death cult of secrets behind. We can grieve and grieve hard and come out of it tear-stained rather than shame-stained. We can come out deepened, fully acknowledged and filled with new life. Wild woman who hold us while we grieve, she's instinctual self. She can bear our screaming, our wailing, our wishing to die without dying. She will put the best medicine in the worst places. She will whisper and murmur in our ears. She will feel pain for our pain. She will bear it. She will not run away. Although there will be scars and plenty of them, it is good to remember that in tensile strength and ability to absorb pressure, a scar is stronger than skin. The scapegoat. Sometimes in my work with women, I show them how to make a full-length scapegoat from a cloth or some other material. A scapegoat is a coat that details in painting, writing, and with all manner of things pinned and stitched to it all, the name calling of a woman has endured in her life. All the insults, all the slurs, all the traumas, all the wounds, all the scars. It is her statement of her experience of being scapegoated. Sometimes it takes only a day or two to make such a coat. Other times it takes months. It's exceedingly helpful in detailing all the hurts and slams and slashes of a woman's life. At first, I made a scapegoat for myself. It soon became so heavy it needed a chorus of muses to carry the train. I had in mind that I would make this scapegoat, and then, having put all the psychic reference or refuge together in one psychic object, I would disperse some of my old woundedness by burying the scapegoat. But you know, I kept the coat hung from the ceiling in the hallway, and every time I walked near it, instead of feeling bad, I felt good. I found myself admiring the ovarios of the woman who could wear such a coat and still be walking foursquare, singing, creating, and wagging her tail. I found this also to be true of the women I worked with. They never want to destroy their scapegoats once they have made them. They want to keep them forever. The nastier and the gorier, the better. Sometimes we should call them battle coats, for they are proof of the endurance, the failures, and the victories of individual women and their kinswomen. It is also a good idea for women to count their ages, not by years, but by battle scars. How old are you? People sometimes ask me. I am 17 battle scars old, I say. Usually people don't flinch and rather happily begin to count up their own battle scar ages accordingly. As the Lakota painting glimpse on animal hides to record the events of winter, and the Nahurult, the Maya, and the Egyptians had their codices recording the great events of the tribe, the wars, the triumphs, the women who had scapegoats, their battle coats. I wonder what our granddaughters and great-granddaughters will think of our lives recorded thusly. I hope it will all have to be explained to them. Let there be no mistake about it, for you have earned it by hard choices of your life. If you are asked by your nationality, ethnic origin, or bloodline, smile enigmatically. Say, Scar Clan.